Welcome back to Olympic Stadium in Seville, Spain, in the Track and Field World Championships, where the men's marathon is just about to get underway under 93-degree temperatures here in Seville. Live coverage of the marathon. They'll be going their 26-mile, 385-yard course in 93 degrees. 83 total runners, including Martine Fies, who was the 1995 World Championship winner and was the runner-up silver medalist in 97, to his countryman Abel Anton, who won the gold medal in Athens after those two dueled most of the way. There are 6 runners from Spain, 5 total from the United States. Getting everything in order, they'll make one circuit here in the stadium before heading out to the streets of Seville. And they're on their way in the 1999 World Championship Marathon.
It's Eddie Hellebuyck from the United States taking the lead right on the inside, but he'll give it up. Marty, they're just going to relax around this one loop in the stadium and then head out up the only hill on this entire course.
And of course, many of the men who are here because they feel that they run well in hot conditions. And although Eddie Hellebuyck was born in Belgium, he thinks he runs well in hot weather, as does Keith Brantley of the United States, who grew up in Florida.
Now, do the Spaniards have a distinct advantage because they're used to these hot conditions, or perhaps do they train elsewhere?
No, they have an advantage, because even if you train elsewhere, it would be at altitude, but you would come back here to get used to the heat. You can acclimate to the heat. It takes about 2 weeks, and actually the way you sweat will change. You sweat in a way that loses a lot of water and less salt, so you have to acclimate. And there goes, I think that's Fabian Roncero, or Fies, taking up. It's Fies going up to the front.
Fies has just switched his hat to backwards. He must be planning on some speed here early. He doesn't want that hat to blow off.
Well, we'll get an indication of what pace they're going right now. He's taking the lead because I think he wants to keep the pace up. They're past 5-minute pace. They actually are running a 5:12 mile pace, and this man has run the marathon averaging 4 minutes and 52 seconds a mile, so he wants it a little faster, Marty.
Well, this is one thing we didn't expect we would see, because Fies said he wasn't going to go out and set the pace this time, that he was going to wait and run behind Anton, but he got antsy. He lost that first battle, which was a psychological one of, you've got to do what you did in Athens.
So they leave the stadium and head for the streets of Seville, and here's a look at the course map. They'll actually make 3 circuits of that course through the city, leaving the stadium 1 round through the city of Seville, and then 2 more to go.
And you don't need a contour map. It's totally flat. There's a wall right there. That's the Plaza de España, and then the tower they come by back to the stadium. 3 landmarks that really give you an idea of where you are on that course, but it is pancake flat. The only hill they're going to go up, they've just gone up, the one coming out of the stadium.
And you notice so many runners wearing hats, because the problem here is the radiant heat. The sun is very strong, yet the humidity is low. It's a different situation than it was in Atlanta, where it was very humid and maybe not as hot, and it takes a different type of running. Here they'll try and throw water on their bodies because there won't be enough sweat.
And they will cool off that way. They've got 2 showers on the course that the runners can run through. Now, that's always a choice, because I never like getting my feet wet, and some runners don't like to do that, and yet it is worth it. So I think on a day like today, where it's 93 degrees, yes, you do go through those showers.
Overhead view, and now down to street level of the 83 runners that have left the stadium and are heading soon to cross the bridge of the Guadalquivir River before they head into the old city of Seville. So just over 3 minutes into the marathon, we'll be seeing not only live coverage of the marathon, but we'll also be taking you back for other highlights of these World Championships that have occurred in the last few days. We're coming to you live from Seville. More World Championship action coming up. Tom Hammond, Frank Shorter, Marty LaCour live from Seville, and the World Championship Marathon now some 5.5 minutes into the race. And as you see, they have not yet begun to really separate. Last time we looked closely, Luke Magongo of Swaziland was the leader, and still well bunched early in the race.
And his personal record is 2 hours and 24 minutes, which gives you some idea of how leisurely they're running. So someone with a personal record more than 15 minutes slower than the best runners in this field is out front. Now we have another leader, but it really is just a pedestrian pace, don't you think, Marty, from that turnover?
Certainly in a situation like this, the hotter it gets, the shorter the race that the men want to make the race. So if this can turn out to be just a half marathon, there are a lot of people that are willing to let it go slow. It takes a lot of patience to hang back when you're a 2:07 marathoner. Running this slowly is almost harder than running your normal rhythm.
You're right. You actually have to make an effort. That's Keith Brantley, 14:47 we just saw. Now he is going to go out in about 1 hour and 7 minutes for halfway, which is pretty leisurely, but it's a good bet. It would be a top 10 finish if he could run about 2:13.
And, of course, a victory by a Spaniard here would be wildly received by the fans, and it's a good possibility. The last two World Championship marathon winners have been from this country. The same pair dueled it out in Athens.
Marty, you and I have always had an adage. Anyone who's out there with you is an opponent, and I think they're on the verge of focusing too much on each other. Dislike doesn't pay off here.
No, and they certainly have men from their own country that could play the spoiler's role. I don't think that they can change their strategy. They're 36 years old. They each know how the other runs, and there's only one way for each of them to do it. One likes to kick, and one needs to try and run away.
The Rio Guadalquivir. Seville is a city of beautiful bridges, some modern in design and some ancient in design. And as they're going across now, the Barqueta Bridge they just crossed across the Guadalquivir, and now they'll take 3 laps of a 12.5-kilometer loop around the center of Seville before crossing the Barqueta again and their return to the stadium. And there's a look at the members of that lead pack.
Magongo from Swaziland, as we said, has a personal best of 2 hours and 24 minutes. And so that really is not going to hold up here.
Well, what's incredible to me is the crowds. That is really going to help the Spanish runners, because running in a stadium, there's a lot of noise, you get a lot of inspiration, but the marathon can be a lonely thing, and if the people are calling you by name for over 2 hours, that's got to be a big advantage over someone who feels like they're out there on their own.
And one of the first casualties perhaps there, or maybe just shedding the shoes. Yep, he's going to continue.
Oh, this is unbelievable. I want to see if this person finishes. This is going to be incredible in this heat on that pavement.
You know, some of the runners come to the Olympics or the World Championships. They've run in bare feet all their life, and a shoe company gives them shoes, and they think, if I wear shoes, maybe I'll run better. And then they find out they just can't wear them. They bother them. They feel heavy.
Lawan 2 just took off his shoes and is continuing to run barefoot. Lawan 2 was the man that took the shoes off, but is continuing in the race. The marathon continues through the streets of Seville. We'll have more coverage, but when we today live here on NBC. Meanwhile, there's been a development in the marathon as it continues, a bit of a break. Frank, what's happened?
Well, what's most surprising about this is not the fact that El Mustafa Damouai from Morocco is out ahead, but that he's this far ahead running what would be a 2 hour and 24-minute marathon, Marty. They are just out there jogging along.
Well, as long as no one that they think is a real big threat has gone off the front, I think the pack is content to do this much as they would in a cycling race. The interesting thing to me is that the guys went by a water table and grabbed bottles, but were pouring them on themselves, drank very little, so they know that it's the strong sun that they've got to be careful of, not so much the humidity and getting water inside. They got to get it outside.
El Mustafa Damouai of Morocco leading the marathon in Seville. And when we come back, runners have just made their way down the avenue of palm trees here in Seville and continue on their course through the city in the marathon. And El Mustafa Damouai of Morocco continues to show the way in the front. Biwott of Kenya is in second. Sato of Japan has taken over third. And in fourth place, Vincenzo Modica of Italy.
But also importantly, Tom, Martin Fies is leading that trail pack. As they come around, they're going to cross a bridge and head south. They have a little out and back portion on the course where they cross the bridge, but even the bridges are flat on this course. And Damouai is starting to fade already. There's 10 kilometers in 32:29. So they've sped up a little bit. In fact, a lot. 15:26. That's a lot, Marty.
They sped up 1.5 minutes over the last 5K, the last 3 miles, basically. But really, the guys who are out front are sort of known for being front runners. Sato of Japan has gone out fast in the past and then faded. So knowing your competition is important, and the main contenders back there are content to stay with the pack.
And a little lesson for road runners of all abilities and age groups. If you're going to try to bridge a gap the way Biwott and Sato are there, you really have to go after that runner who's in front. The American in the group, John Hume, I think, is up there. Eddie Hellebuck is right up there in the front. Eddie Hellebuck recently became a U.S. citizen, formerly an Olympian from Belgium. And so they're going past 6.2 miles here in a little over 32 minutes. But if Sato and Biwott don't really make an effort to bridge that gap, the rest of the main pack is going to let them stay where they are.
They've gone over that Puente Nuevo, which is the bridge across the river, and Damai was the man that led him across it. And of course, welcome back to Seville. The men's marathon runners just coming through the Plaza de Cuba and heading across the bridge, the Puente de San Telmo. There they are crossing the bridge now, coming up to nearly 40 minutes into the marathon. And El Mustafa Damai of Morocco continues to lead the field. We see him sneaking a peek behind him every so often, and he continues to lead and has a pretty comfortable lead at this point. Well, one of the highlights of these World Championships earlier this Macarena section of Seville. That's right. There is a section of this city called Macarena, and the leader continues to be El Mustafa Damai of Morocco. And he continues to high-five and slap hands with the fans along the route. He's having apparently the time of his life. As you see, he continues to lead the pack here. Now, Frank, when you were running marathons, how many times did you slap hands with the fans?
I was never confident until I was within crawling distance of the finish line. I would never be that. Now, they've gone through. Someone went down. They just went through the shower, and someone slipped and fell down.
I'm not quite sure it was the Japanese runner that slipped, but he tried to hurdle somebody who had fallen.
That Shimizu of Japan, who went down, gets up quickly, which is a good sign, because if you can roll right back up. Oh, he just someone clipped him from behind, maybe clipped his feet, and he went down, Marty.
Yep,
he was getting in position. He was getting in position for the shower.
That's Martin Fees that did the hurdling over him. So one of the favorites there involved in that.
Narrowly avoiding disaster.
And it's just a question of, now he's not feeling too good here. He's starting to slow down a little. But your adrenaline, really the danger here, Marty, sometimes is there's so much adrenaline used up in the fall. It's not that you're really hurt. Oh, look at that. There's Fees going over. And you get up quickly. The secret is to get up fast. Don't think about it.
Once you're up, you need to get rid of that adrenaline and just make up the deficit slowly. I made that mistake once, and I didn't do it again. You don't try and catch up right away.
And the Japanese would desperately love a medal in the marathon. They have none in these championships so far. And they do have a shot. They have the second best team. The Spaniards have the best. But these are two Italians leading, though. The two Italians have decided to take the pace. That's Caimi, number 770, and Goffi, number 782. And Biwott from Kenya on the right, in the dark uniform, still jogging along about 40 seconds behind.
Almost 30 runners back in that second pack as they continue in the marathon. And we'll have more marathon coverage when we return to Seville. Just past the 20K mark in the men's marathon, El Mustafa Damai of Morocco continues to lead with a pack of about 25 runners or so trailing him. And surprisingly, Damai continues to interact with the crowd. There's the trailing pack. But Damai up front continues to wave and interact with the fans along the route and appears to be having the time of his life. He takes a little mini shower from the water bottles there, has one more for good measure and a swig of it, and continues on his way. So far, he's been an amazing story, slapping hands with the fans and waving, and as we said, apparently enjoying his run through the streets of Seville. Well, earlier in these World Championships, Marion Jones in Seville, where a lead change has occurred in the marathon. El Mustafa Damai of Morocco has been the leader for some time, but here is Nobuyuki Sato of Japan, 27 years old, that moves by Damai to take over the lead in the marathon. Nearly 90 minutes into it. So Sato of Japan is the new leader as the marathon continues in Seville. Now let's go down to Jim Gray.
All right, thanks.
Sato of Japan is the new leader. 27-year-old Sato of Japan. Biwott of Kenya is in second place. And looming is from Spain, Anton, who won in Athens, is now moved up to third.
And he ran 2:08:48 at the Fukuoka International Marathon last December. He's the best of the Japanese runners. They have a very strong team. He has about a 12-second lead, but he's legitimate. He's a threat, and the other runners know it. I mean, they were perfectly content to lay back. Abel Anton is in that second group. Simon Biwott from Kenya, who is also up there, and three Italians, Goffi, Modica, and Kayami, are all in that second pack. Number 782 is Danilo Goffi from Italy. He's 26. He's only run 2:12 for a marathon, 4 minutes slower than the others, but they're up there. The Italians are running very well.
All right, let's go down to Jim Gray. He's Spanish. It's a wonderful mix of cultures and architectural styles. And here is Sato of Japan, who continues to lead the marathon. His lead at last report was 18 seconds. You continue to see Sato leading the way, and in that second pack, Goffi, Kayami, Biwott.
And they realize, Tom, that he is starting to get away. See that second pack begin to string out? Vincenzo Modica from Italy, he's going to chase him down. That's Biwott from Kenya who's going to go after him. The other Italian, Chiemi, is there. And Abel Anton right behind him.
And right behind him in black is Gert Thies, second fastest marathoner of all time right now. He was up chasing the leader for a while, but decided to get back in the pack about an hour ago, but I don't think he's finished for the day. There's some good runners in that second pack.
Sato is not away free yet. 18 seconds is not enough with approximately 6 miles left to run. So he's going to have to increase his lead. I think that second pack is getting confidence because he doesn't seem to be getting that much further ahead. But they're after him now. You can see they smell it. They're chasing him down.
Just having passed the Jardín de Maria Alcázar and into the Parc de Maria Luisa. And Sato continues to lead the pack. That's just across from the Plaza de España, which we saw as we came back, a little close-up shot of some of the decorative tiles. So that's the area that the runners continue, and the lead pack chasing Sato of Japan, or the trail pack chasing Sato, and an hour 40 into the race, an hour 40 in, and Sato continues to lead. There you see the second chase pack.
And in there is Martin Thies, who we thought would be shadowing Anton, and he's running behind him the way he said he was going to at the start. But, Marty, I don't think he wanted to be that far behind.
No, I think he misspoke when he said, I'm going to be behind him all the way. He meant all the way until we get on the track, and then I'll try and out-kick him. So Thies is not having as good a race as was expected.
But what was so incredible was that they could finish 1-2 in the last World Championships. And the possibility of having two runners from one country at the exact same level they were before in a race like this is just very unusual. You can't expect it.
The pace is about 2:15 marathon pace in the park. There are some places where they'll get in the shade, and there's a great difference being in that shade. It's getting later at night now. You maybe start to feel good, maybe to start thinking that this isn't an impossible task and start racing instead of just trying to survive.
Well, there's now a new way to experience the Olympics. Italy is still up there close. Biwott. And
but Sato is legitimate, Marty. He can stay out there. He's a good front runner. He knows, and if he can get a 30 or 40-second lead, he can go around a certain corner, run hard while he's out of sight, and even increase that lead. But I would say you have to, on this kind of day with this much heat, you want to be within about 3 miles of the finish with about a 30-second lead to really feel secure.
Before you start making any surges, you're saying, before you start playing those games, be close enough to the stadium that you know you can hold it. That's
Goffi, Danilo Goffi of Italy, leading that Chase Pack.
And they look very relaxed. They look very easy. Their pace has actually been relatively even for the entire race. It's not that they've been running faster than anyone behind them. They've been running pretty much exactly 2:14 to 2:15 pace the entire way. And again, they're very relaxed. I think it's almost like a track race now where they don't feel that Sato is too far ahead. They're all relaxing, looking at each other, and now they're starting to wait for somebody to make a move.
Especially Abel Anton, who was a good track racer in his day. He seems to be looking around. He wants to know who's in that first pack. His eyes aren't just focused ahead trying to chase Anton in the red there. He seems to look around. He's really taking a lot in, and he's a defending champion.
It's hard to think. See, he looks around to see if there's anyone behind. He's counting people now, Marty.
I think he was looking for fees.
You're counting people because in your mind, if you have the confidence, you're going to take them one at a time, and someone's going to surge. And his strategy, because he's the fastest sprinter in this field, he feels he's going to just go with whoever goes. And all he wants to do is be the second person entering the stadium.
As the marathon runners continue, we'll have more coverage when we come back. We'll also see the U.S. Welcome back live to Seville. The marathon continues. The runners on their third lap through the city of Seville. That's the Chase Pack that you see right there with Biwott of Kenya. And here's where they are. You see the red. That's all they have remaining. They've made that right-hand turn on their third lap, so they'll head back now toward the bridge that leads them to the stadium and the finish of the marathon. Biwott of Kenya and Anton of Spain running 1-2 in that Chase Pack. But meanwhile, Nobuyuki Sato of Japan has opened up a fairly commanding lead at this point.
Looks to me to be about 30 seconds. And if he goes to the southern part of the map that you saw, where you make that right-hand turn, come back heading north, and when you make the left turn towards the finish, there's the Tower of Gold. And at that point, if he can get across the bridge and make that left turn before they're even on the bridge, Marty, that's out of sight, out of mind territory. But don't be confused by this lens. They're a significant amount behind here. I would say it's about 30 seconds at this point.
That's Sato of Japan that continues to lead the marathon and is apparently increasing his lead now.
But still, Frank, you've got to think there's a lot of guys in that pack. Somebody is going to make a move.
It's a 22-second, Marty. It's a 22-second lead right now.
So too many guys back there that somebody's not going to take a shot at him.
If it had been 40 seconds, they would be worried. But they also know. They look at their watches. They see him go across the line. They look at their watch. They see how far behind they are. They're not worried about 20 seconds now. And they're going to start to work together. You see, before, one would go out and everyone would just let him go. Now they're taking turns. Anton surged to try to go after him for a while, then he fell back, and then Biwott from Kenya went out and pulled the pack along. So now they're starting to work together to run him down. But this is a very fit, legitimate athlete. The Japanese are very precise. You know he's trained in the heat. You know he has gone somewhere. You don't have to know where it's very hot, where the conditions are similar to here, taking many 3- and 4-hour runs in that same kind of heat at the same time of day that they know it's going to be here. So he is ready. It's just a question of whether it's his day, and he has the talent. But here we'll get a perspective of that lead.
And it is sizable. 1 hour and 48 minutes into the race. There's the Chase Pack.
Sizable but not insurmountable, as Marty says at this point, because the pack has it so much easier. They actually draft off each other. There's a 7% energy saving, not as much as a bicycle, but Abel Anton in the red in third, perfect position. You can see he's just relaxed. He's letting Biwott from Kenya in the front do all the work. And another runner that we haven't mentioned is Luis Novo with the hat on in reverse from Portugal. He's run 2:10, so some very good athletes there. One of the Italians starting to fall off the back, so you can tell that trail pack is starting to push it.
Approaching the 22-mile mark in the 26-mile plus marathon. Sato of Japan, 27 years old. And the Chase Pack.
And I think that's Goffey now taking his turn at the lead to try to chase him down. The trail pack is now 5, and Marty, isn't that Herkis, the world best performer, hidden in there in the hat, so the best man in the field on paper is still there. Duat from Kenya. There's Hertis in the hat. Abel Anton and Novo from Portugal. Those are the men now. The medals come from either these men or that person up front. And that's Shigemizu from Japan, who had fallen down at the start of the race. He's still up there very close.
I think Abel Anton is very well prepared to win this race. He's 36 years old. It's the first time he's run a marathon in Spain, and I think he's just waiting for someone else to make the first break so that at least half of the way to the leader is going to be covered by two men so that he doesn't have to do all the work himself. He's a guy that likes to just have a big kick at the end, and he let the Italian make the move, but he's going to go right with him. He glanced back, and he knows, okay, it's the two of us now. Take me up to the leader.
That's Vincenzo Modica, and they're pushing it. You see, they really started to pull away. Teese right behind in third. Marty, just as on the track, when someone tries to make a surge like that, don't go with them immediately. Try to gain it back slowly so as not to use up too much energy. And now there's someone else off the back. Now there are four in the chase pack.
And that's the man they're chasing, Sato. There's the chasing four.
And Modica doing the work at this point.
That little Gert Teese in the back of the pack, letting everything happen, just watching it, staying very relaxed. And I got to think that Abel Anton, as he looks around at the three other runners, he knows that Teese is the guy that's going to be a problem.
Absolutely, he knows. And this man is literally running scared. He knows he's made his commitment. If he gets caught, he's not going to get a medal. He's running for a medal of some sort and just hope he hangs on.
Sato leads the marathon, which continues in Seville. And up next, we'll take a look at the relays. We'll see the U.S. Well, it was a 20-second lead at one time for Sato, but here's Anton of Spain, the defending champion, who's overhauled the Japanese runner and now has the lead.
And he's at a water station. Modica he was running with Modica about 20 seconds behind. They went to a water station. Modica from Italy reached for a cup of water. Anton took off, got a 10-meter lead, and literally took 3 minutes, Marty, to catch Sato.
I think that Modica is the man that Abel Anton is worried about the most right now. When he came up upon Sato, Sato looked at him as if he was going to let him go, but then he got in behind Anton and did a pretty good job of it. But the Japanese runner led for an awful long time, and usually when you catch somebody from behind like that, he's just going to hold on. But I think the medals have been decided here, but I don't think the Italian is finished.
But here's our winner right here.
Well, if that's true, there will be a wild celebration. Could a Spaniard win the World Championship in Spain? Conclusion of the marathon when we come back to Seville. Welcome back live to Seville and the World Championships, and that's the scene inside the stadium, the big screen showing the Spaniard Abel Anton with the lead in the marathon, and the fans starting to heat it up. This is his goal, of course. He'll come into the stadium and trek to the finish line, perhaps to take his second consecutive gold medal in the marathon, much to the delight of the Spanish fans. If he wins, he will be the first to repeat as the marathon world champion. Sato and Modica of Italy are second and third.
Well, Anton really raced this marathon. It's interesting that he comes from the same hometown as Fermin Cacho. In fact, they own a sporting goods store together. Cacho also a canny racer. They both have great kicks. Frank, you used to run the marathon. Now you have to race it, and you have to have a 354 miler speed like Anton to win.
And he's actually run even pace for about the last 15 kilometers. So it's that the other runners did slow down. When he caught Sato and took the lead and then relaxed, he actually ran nearly the same speed for the 5 kilometers as he had for the 5 kilometers before. But he knows he's home free now. He's got more speed than anybody. He'll take a little look back when he goes down into the stadium. But Modica and Sato will have a race here on the track. There's Novo from Portugal. He's in 4th place. But here is the man running even pace. And don't think, as you said, this is a race. Just because it's out on the roads and it's much longer than a track race, the same kinds of strategies are involved. And as any coach will tell you, even pace all the way is the best way to run a race of any distance.
You saw Anton looking behind him there to see how close the competition might be. Modica of Italy opens up a few meters now on Sato, but Anton appears to be pretty much in control, looking back behind him and on his way here toward the stadium, and the crowd watching on the big screen will be ready to explode when Anton gets here.
So the rivalry really never materialized. Martin Fies did try to stay up with him, tried to stay with that lead pack, but as slowly as they were running, when Marty and I saw that he dropped off into the second trail pack, that it was going to be all over for today. But to be in this kind of condition 2 years later, to win it in your home country, this is an incredible performance, and it's competition. He was running to win.
Well, let's not forget that Fies was the one who had to hurdle another runner earlier in the race, very early on in the first 10 miles, and that may have had some effect. But as you said at the top of the show, it's amazing that someone at 36 years of age, who's the defending champion, would come back 2 years later and be ready to run as well again.
Oh, they know he's coming. They can see it. They're watching on the big screen.
Toro is here. Man has a hat with horns on it.
And now he's going to go down the only hill on this course, that tunnel leading into the stadium. There he goes.
And here comes Abel Anton into Olympic Stadium. Let's listen to his reception as he heads toward the stadium. And when he enters, look at him, he's almost all smiling already. Modica continues to look good for the silver, and Sato the bronze.
Courageous run by Sato. Really tried to steal this race, did everything he could, but here's the better man.
Anton predicted earlier in the week that the race would be run in about 2:13, and his pace at the last checkpoint was 2:13.56. So, as you said, he ran even pace. He had a pace in his mind that he thought would take to win, but he adjusted that according to who he was running against. Once Gert Thies dropped off the backpack, I think he realized he had to move. He was waiting to see if Gert had it today, and when he didn't, he decided the race was with the Italian.
What he did, Marty, was he followed everybody he needed to until he got to the point where he realized even if he took the risk of trying to catch Sato, no one would be able to go with him. He's such a cagey competitor, as you said. He literally used his other athletes to perfection in this race.
That's Olympic Stadium. He can see it now, and the crowd can see him getting close. Now approaching that tunnel, which will lead him to the floor of the stadium. Which way do I go?
Well, he can afford to get lost here, Tom, but not for too long.
Well, we've had trouble with directions this week, but we didn't speak Spanish.
Final 100 meters, and then the celebration will begin in earnest. Anton of Spain, the first man to repeat as marathon world champion. Modica of Italy is going to get the silver. Sato of Japan will take the bronze.
A race that some people thought would be more of a survival contest than a race proved, Marty, to be an absolutely competitive event.
knew the competition, he knew the course, he knew the weather. He ran within 35 seconds of the time he predicted a couple of days.
And Novo from Portugal comes in.
4th place. Well, Marty, you said that Anton predicted 2:13. It was off by 36 seconds. 2 hours, 13 minutes, 36 seconds.
Well, he was very confident. He prepared at high altitude and cooler weather. He didn't train in hot weather for this. He actually said he thought that maybe the Africans had somewhat of an edge for the heat, but many of the runners made the choice that altitude and getting their red blood cell count up higher was more important than being in the hot conditions. But it's all worked out for him. It's great, Frank, to be a marathoner and know at the end of the race you still have that great kick. It allows you to use a lot of different strategies rather than be a guy who has to go out there and set a fast pace.
And here's Martin Fies. He's on the backstretch of the track in about 8th place, still finishing strong.
And of course, it was in '97 in Athens that Fies and Anton were battling together, running together the whole way, and then to the surprise of Fies, with about 400 meters to go, Anton sprinted away, and Fies had his feelings hurt, was upset with his teammate, but unable to get his revenge today. The former world champion finishing back in the pack as Anton takes the victory.
And Fies now knows that Anton can win from the front as well as from behind.
All right. Abel Anton wins the marathon. Now we'll return you to New York and our Sun America Sports Desk. Let's take you back now to Hannah Storm. After 9 o'clock in the evening in Seville, Spain, Olympic Stadium erupting with the victory in the marathon by Spaniard Abel Anton. The defending champion becomes the first ever at the World Championships to win back-to-back marathon titles. Here are the top 8 finishers in the marathon. Anton the gold, Modica the silver, Sato the bronze, and Fies, the Spaniard who won the World Championship in '95, finishing in 8th place. Well, from a long